What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road is the fourth installment into the Mad Max franchise and is kind of a re-imaging of the entire franchise. Tom Hardy takes over the role of Max, and he's joined by Charlize Theron as Furiosa. So let's waste no time. Let's get right into this. Me personally, Mad Max Fury Road is my second favorite sequel in the Mad Max franchise. It is tied neck in neck with the Road Warrior. That's how good Fury Road is. I view Mad Max Fury Road as the direct continuation of the Road Warrior, in which this movie is just a 2 hour chase. It's a 2 hour spectacle. And George Miller returns to form with a vengeance. He pretty much saw what Beyond Thunderdome was, which for all intents and purposes is a movie that is just it's not Beyond Thunderdome did not feel like a Mad Max movie. It felt like a movie with the Mad Max name attached to it. Fury Road is a Mad Max movie. This is what a follow up to the Road Warrior should have been. This balls to the wall, violent movie that is just in your face and smash mouth. And Fury Road does that in spades. It's got a simple story that is easy to follow. It's got very engaging characters, and you have outstanding acting to boot. You have Tom Hardy taking over the role of Max. Now, I love Mel Gibson as Max, but I think Tom Hardy as Max, he brought his own thing to the role, and he was great. I thought Tom Hardy was fantastic playing Max. He didn't have a whole lot of dialogue to say, but when he did talk, it meant something. Charlize Theron as Furiosa, this is how you do a feminine character right. I like how people like George Miller and James Cameron can make female action heroes relatable and cool without shoving any political agenda down your throat. Furiosa is a perfect example. I thought Charlize Theron as Furiosa was badass, but she also had moments of vulnerability, and I also like the camaraderie that develops between her and Max. This mutual respect that happens between these two, and I like how Miller did not go the whole cheesy romance between these two. He kept it professional, and he kept them as just having a mutual respect for one another, and it really really shows throughout the course of the movie. Furiosa and Max, they work a lot in this movie because as they're trying to take these women to this location called the Green Place. Now, the whole reason why they're trying to go to the Green Place is because Furiosa. So the villain of this movie is called Immortan Joe, who is played by Case Burns, who is returning to the Mad Max franchise after having previously played the Toe Cutter in the first movie. So I actually think it's kind of fitting that the villain in the new version, in this new era of Mad Max, is played by Case Burns, who was the villain in the first movie. I think that's a good full circle moment. And while the Toe Cutter was a very outlandish, kind of eccentric type of villain, Immortan Joe is the exact opposite. Immortan Joe is intimidating. He is badass, and Hugh K. Burns does a fantastic job playing Immortan Joe, and I love the story of this movie. It is so simple. Furiosa pretty much steals Immortan Joe's brides, who he uses as breeders to breed children, and Furiosa takes these women and is trying to give them refuge in the Green Place, and of course, Immortan Joe gathers up all his forces that he calls the War Boys, and they just go on this chase for Morton Joe to get back his brides. And again, it's a bone simple story, but it works so well. And George Miller managed to stretch out this story into a 2 hour movie, and it works. It works. And for a movie that has very minimal dialogue, he invests you into these characters, but just by emotion, just by the way he directs his action, and when he does apply dialogue to certain scenes. This movie is not a silent movie, but it's not. But this movie does not rely on dialogue. It relies on visuals, and George Miller does that to perfection. The action sequences in this movie rival those of the Road Warrior. You have the amazing sandstorm scene, which is outstanding, and you got a couple of other cool scenes to boot as well. One of my favorite scenes is the scene involving a character called the Bullet Farmer, who gets blinded and then goes on a freaking shooting spree. And and we don't see the death on screen; we see it off screen, which I actually think is pretty cool. And you also have a very thrilling, edge of your seat climax that definitely rivals that of the Road Warrior. Brilliant stuff, excellently directed, outstanding cinematography. This is a beautiful looking movie. This movie is very, very vibrant with colors. It's very lush. George Miller makes the most out of the landscapes that he uses. And like he said, this movie, you can tell this movie was meant to be viewed in black and white. And I cannot wait to see this movie in black and white when it eventually gets its release. Because I think it'll make this movie, I think it'll give this movie a completely different feel, just like the black and white did for Logan. Oh. So, man, as you can tell, I love Mad Max Fury Road. This, to me, was the most captivating movie of 2015 when I saw it. Because when I saw this movie, my eyes were glued to the screen. This movie is never boring. It never drags. It's from the moment the movie starts, it's just high octane in your face. And like I said, you have really good, interesting characters. But you don't just have Max Furiosa and Immortan Joe. You get this other character called Nux, who is played really, really well by Nicholas Hoult. And I really like the character of Nux. He first starts out as somebody who is dying, and he's pretty much using Max as a blood donor that he calls blood bag. But the character of Nux is also very, very devoted to Immortan Joe and very devoted to Immortan Joe's beliefs. And pretty much the first half of the movie, Nux is trying so hard to impress Immortan Joe, and when he finally gets the chance to impress him, he fails, and Immortan Joe just kind of chastises him, and that pretty much puts Nux's character arc into motion, where he goes against Immortan Joe and joins up with Max and Furiosa and has a hero's death, which I thought was really, really cool for the character of Nux. And I would have liked to have seen the character of Nux live on, but he was already gone. He already had a death sentence anyway, because the movie reveals early on that he is dying. But him having a hero's death makes his character arc go full circle. And I also like the little scenes he and Max share as well. It has a lot of dark humor to it, which I'm a huge fan of. And this movie does have a lot of good humor. It has a lot of, moments of really subtle dark humor as well. Like there's this one, like I said, I go back to this character called the Bullet Farmer, who was getting dragged into this, and he's like, all this over a family squabble. Then and after he gets blinded, he goes on a shooting spree. He's like, I am the scales of justice. This movie is just so much fun. I love Fury Road. So yeah, there's so much more to talk about Fury Road, but those are just my thoughts. This movie is a perfect 10. If you have not seen Mad Max Fury Road, go out right now and watch it, because you're doing yourself a disservice. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.